Happy Friday, friends. You are here today for Brushstrokes of Intuition, elevating client transformation in the treatment room. Can you believe it's Friday? This week has gone by so fast, and we've had so many amazing educators bring wonderful topics your way. I hope that everybody has enjoyed so far the content, and today's the last day. We are going to introduce Emily. You already know Emily, but we'll introduce Emily from Whole Skid Method. She's going to be bringing us brush strokes of intuition room. And let me tell you, let me get a little personal for a moment. I just had a one-on-one session with her this morning, and talk about brushstrokes of intuition. I mean, she's going to only give us brushstrokes today, but what Emily brings us is so informative, and just to gather little brushstrokes of the information that she's going to give us is going to elevate our experience in as a practitioner in our treatment rooms. So before, hey Emily, how are you this morning? Hello again, I should say.
Hello again, Jamie. No, I'm having a great morning. I started off my morning with you, which was absolutely fantastic.
Amazing.
And I think after yesterday's uh, just outstanding day, not just with you, but with clients as well, it was just a huge affirmation that this is so needed and that we're here for it. So I'm excited today I know yesterday was more so about the business aspects of things and how we
Mhm.
are at that driving force and that core center. But today we're really going to dive into this idea of, what else is possible in the treatment room, because I think we have it a little bit backwards in what we've been taught. And I would love to break it down and really expand it to see what else is possible now. So,
Yes, this whole week it's just been a shift on perspectives, and
mhm,
there has been for me so many aha moments this week,
mhm,
which is why I always say, as an educator, I'm still a forever student. I
mhm,
love to learn, absorb, hear different perspectives, and it just gives you the growth that you need for that self-evolvement and
mhm,
who we're constantly becoming in life.
100%. And I think that, I mean, I guess jumping into it in that
Do
way, it just
it.
works. But the idea that this skin is the barrier, is the connection of us to our inner and outer worlds. And if we hold the skin in that light, how much, like, what else is possible? How
Mhm.
much more information is available to us when we ask the question, what else is trying to be created through this expression of the skin? What is trying to get our attention? And I believe that so many people in the world of the holistic spa world or beauty world, they begin to consider the aspects of our physicality still as parts of our manifestation of disease.
Mhm.
And that means that we're looking at a lot of the lifestyle things. And so oftentimes you'll go in your treatment, whether it be a consultation or even advice that's given around correcting or addressing the holistic side of this, is still kept in that physicality
Mhm.
of doing and being the right thing. So we talk about stress, we'll talk about sleep, we'll talk about what we're eating, what we're doing to take care of ourselves, our other healing appointments. And to me, that is actually at the end of the line of our 5-step healing hierarchy that I teach in the Whole Skin Method. And when we can look at the lens of everything happening from a formless to form space, then we
Yeah.
understand that to be true as an energy or as an emotion. We have to have a system of healing that has access to understanding that information as a practitioner, and then the opportunity to be able to express and walk people through discovering what that means for them in their own language and in their own world, because their sleep is disrupted or they are stressed out because of a foundational pattern of emotional resonance, of emotional processing, emotional intelligence, of ways that their mindsets have gathered up what we'll call negative cognitions, and these stories that have been at the foundation of their level of creation. And although they could handle it for 10 years, they've maybe just pumped the well dry at this
Mhm.
point to begin to realize that they no longer can take it. whether there's been more factors added in, more stress added in, new changes, new jobs, new responsibilities, whatever that may look like, there is no longer the ability of the body to take it anymore. And that comes up through the skin. And I believe that a lot of this ideology is true for autoimmune diseases and disorders, is that oftentimes they go in and they say, but the organ is fine, the tissue is fine, there's nothing physically wrong with the body. And then they stop there and say that your body is just attacking itself. And although that might be true, because I am not a medical doctor, nor do I ever desire to be, I can understand that through my work, there is likely an emotional, mental, or spiritual manifestation of this energy that is asking to be acknowledged, to be explored, to be overcome, and then to be integrated. And these are the messages that our skin gives to us when we are experiencing dis-ease in the skin. But the number one thing that we end up doing as practitioners is looking at the physicality of the skin. We often say, let's talk about your products. Let's talk about your skincare history. And although those things are not wrong in any way, shape, or form, they are super important. And you must be a master at your ingredients and your understanding of different products and knowledge. All of that matters. It's just what's beyond that. When we get stuck, and I remember this as a practitioner myself, it was like, okay, do you drink enough water? Do you work out? How do you manage stress? And they had all the right answers. That on their to-do list, they're checking off all the right things. And yet disease is still present in the body. Something is still wrong. They're using the right products or they're doing the right treatments. But again, a long time ago, one lady wrote a textbook and that lady was Milady. And so we have this very static ideology or even foundation that we're still basing our curriculum off of, that no longer serves the places and spaces that estheticians want to serve. And so there needs to be a bridge and something that closes this gap between being able to see what else is asking to be created through these skin stories as we reference them. That's what we call them, inside of the whole skin method. So yeah.
Yeah, we talk about, as holistic therapists, it's balancing mind and body. And we've really summarized it to be mind, to just be here, but it's the energies, it's the emotions, it's the experiences that we hold on to that do get, I'll call it, lodged in the physicality, and then it comes outward through it on our skin or through shoulder pain. So I think that this path really is going to help people understand how to bridge that physicality that we're all so aware of now, because of that is the foundation and how we get to be a holistic practitioner through of touch, massage, or aesthetics, and really diving into this energetic piece, this emotional piece is really enlightening for even myself, who loves this. I'm far too quick to say that it's taken me a long time to get to this point. I was very much in the physical aspect of my learning and my understanding. And when my eyes have been open to this part of it, it's just, the sky is the limit. It's opened the door so differently for me in my practice and in life.
Absolutely. And it changes so much of the possibility of results of long-term development for the skin. It's really about taking people through a transformation. And when we can look at our what's being asked of us as these practitioners to bring people through those journeys, it's really about this opportunity to guide people through the transformation. And that is something that I will say when it's looking at this idea of holistic, of this physicality, this mental, this emotional, this spiritual, we are able to actually have a system around looking at it, assessing it, figuring out where the gaps are, and then what else is trying to get our attention. Many spas in this world for many years have used that they are mind, body, soul practitioners. And if that is you, I am not calling you out or making fun of you in any way, but I'm just saying, bullshit. You likely have no idea how to help somebody with their mind, their soul, and even their whole body. And it's not your fault.
It's just become a common term that we're using without fully understanding.
Right. And so there's such an opportunity for us to dig deeper. If that is something that does resonate with us, to treat people mind, body, and soul, then we must dig in and say, yeah, we are going to look at people mind, body, and soul, and then relate it back to the skin that we are treating and stay within our wheelhouse. And so many people ask me all the time, is this possible for us as practitioners? How is this in my scope of practice? And I say it exists because you are an intuitive, holistic being yourself who has walked many paths and journeys and now has the opportunity to walk a client through the same transformation. That is part of why we go through experiencing what we experience so that we can grow and change and learn, but also to share those shared experiences with others, to create this level of emotional resonance, which is bigger than the physicality. Everything is created from a formless essence of an energy before it becomes a physical representation in our world. But all the solutions that we have in this aesthetics world are physically based. Let me study another modality. Let me take you through this other product journey. I want to try this technique on you. And it is very much so disempowering the truth and leaving a lot to be explored, which is something that I am, I'll say, fascinated by. Mm-hmm. And so within the whole skin method, and I was, really unsure of like, what am I actually going to share during this chit chat? And I think yesterday we talked about building our intuition. So if building your intuition and the steps it takes to building you as an intuitive practitioner is really what you're looking for, then go back and listen to yesterday's chat, because you can most definitely apply that to the treatment room as well,
Yes.
with a few different strategies in mind. But today was really about sharing part of this transformation journey, because I feel like that is what we as practitioners are yearning for, is how do I walk someone through this journey then as a holistic practitioner? What do the steps look like? And the healing hierarchy is part of our healing system inside of the whole skin method. Just to give context, I believe that we walk people through 3 phases of treatment. We walk them through the first phase, which is calm, soothe. We then take them through restore and repair, and then we allow them to access this level of flow and glow. And the cycle of healing that we're able to create and cultivate gives us an opportunity to look at the different phases and then even cycle through them time and time again to be more successful. So on the grand scheme of the whole skin method, that transformation journey is one of the most foundational aspects. And then following that, within each of these capacities of calm, soothe, restore and repair, and flow and glow, we get to work through the healing hierarchy to alchemize whatever it is that our clients are dealing with. And so the very first part of that journey of guiding a client through a transformation that you can adopt into your programs now is the aspect of skin intelligence. The first step is to nurture the skin's innate ability to be intelligent in the ways that we know it to be true, that it can shed its own cells. We don't have to scrub them off, that it will wash and cleanse itself. We just need sometimes to remove the excess, that it does have internal factors to keep itself moisturized and hydrated. And whatever we are using topically on the skin should support these processes. So the question should be, what products in my clients' routines are supporting their skin's natural abilities to do what it was made to do? Man created so many amazing systems, and we tried to overcreate this world to try to take away our own empowerment, our own sovereignty, our own inner authority, so that we could sell products, so that we could sell a treatment.
Monetize.
And although 100%, we monetize everything. And although that works, we can still monetize on taking the initiative to nurture the nature of our client's skin. We call it in our Jade by Gem and skincare line, in our product line, we call it cultivating your essence, because your skincare products are all about how do you want to feel today. And those skincare products are that reflection. And so oftentimes products aren't going to be the transformational thing that long term gets your client where they want to go. It may, in the moment, soothe the inflammation in the moment, may resolve an expression. But when we ask ourselves what's underneath that and what's underneath that, I call it a 7-layer why. Yes, because we are nature, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm reading a comment that came in. It's like, yes, because we are that, and we are a reflection of every part of that. And when we go back through those 7 layers of why, we're going to receive this inner ability to recognize that this started inside of us. When cells began to differentiate and become this external skin that we now see and have, it came from an inner environment. And so what was the inner environment as those cells were being created and nurtured and differentiated? And what was the space that was given to those cells to create? Think of it as a child, for instance. If we look at it that way, it's maybe an easy example to begin to think about. A child in their environment, and that they will either flourish or they may struggle or experience different challenges based on how supportive that environment is for them. Our skin cells are the exact same way.
Yes.
And too many of us as practitioners are trying to use too many magic physical potions to create problems or to create solutions for problems that are not physical. We are then creating harm on that top layer of the skin. We are seeing increased barrier damage. We're seeing increased inflammation and acne and more rosacea and dermatitis. And you name it, it all becomes a part of this cycle. So although this 40-year-old client is coming in and she knows that she wants to deal with her menopausal acne and her dryness and her maybe her sunspots or pigmentation that's showed up on her skin, while wanting the magic wrinkle potion, I know that oftentimes they've been given products that are irritating that barrier, creating more inflammation, feeding more inflammation through the body at a time when this person is just being asked to really take care of themselves, to really love themselves, to recreate themselves, to come into their own self more. And yet we are still only giving them a small tip of that very big iceberg that can create more opportunities for healing, which when we successfully go through this healing hierarchy with our clients, we are able to have these transformations that are then giving us all these other clients, because these clients have now gone forth and said, I am cured, I am resolved, I am peaceful, I am everything I want to be in this outer layer, because my mind and my body are in alignment with who and what I want to be.
Oh, everything inside of me is yelling, screaming, preach it louder. This is so amazing.
Everybody!
This is connecting the dots differently. I've understood this, but the way you've just described it really makes sense.
Thank you. And after we get through skin intelligence, this idea of looking at what is actually contributing, and the way that we do it in the whole skin method is we use dosing charts. You know, we use percentages and probabilities to determine how good that product is actually for our client skin. And then the charts after that then determine through muscle testing why a product is compatible or not compatible. And that's just the process that we have used. And that is our whole skin method, essentially, is using those intuitive ways to tap into what else is possible about this product. It says on the label it's going to be excellent for all of these things, but is it truly excellent for my client in the ways that this disease has manifested for them? Because every root cause or origin or manifestation is different. And so trying to understand more about those skin stories through the intuitive lens allows us to kind of get in that underbelly a little bit more, so that we can be more successful with these transformations. And once we decide that, you know, those products are settled and things are working or not working for our clients, then it's time to look at those emotional aspects of our client's skin. I often, as I said yesterday, when it comes to acne, I'm asking what came first, the acne or the anxiety, and tell me about all your relationships with anger, that redness, that inflammation. There is a giant connection between our energy and our skin, and it is the key to our holistic well-being. The truth is that there are energetic manifestations that exist, and that when we do not have the emotional intelligence to actually go through the processes of understanding our emotions, they get stuck. And where do they likely get stuck? In the tissues, in the water bodies, in the lymphatic system. And our skin is a series of layers of tissues and cells that now have this encoded energy or frequency. And now they are behaving in such a way that is not whole or maybe even complete. And these incomplete processes are giving us maybe diseased skin. Chronic stress will most definitely disrupt our energetic flow, leading to conditions like acne and eczema and psoriasis. Stress hormones like cortisol can then trigger inflammation and exacerbate existing skin issues. And although we can treat the cortisol imbalance, or we can treat the stress, we have to understand what energies or patterns or foundations that we established have led us to responding to our environment in such a way. So it's not just about finding a solution for the cortisol, it's going back in time to figure out, where did that emotion first come from? What are the emotions that are actually deeper around that sense of that energetic imbalance? And then begin to decode it and understand it so that we can accept it, integrate it, allow the wisdom of it to be true, and then return to that higher state of consciousness. And therefore, our skin will reflect that higher state of consciousness. The second point in this idea of emotional skin health is the idea of emotional influence. Emotions will play a significant role in our skin health, as I've said, through this unresolved emotional traumas, issues, negative thought patterns, these negative cognitions, these mindsets that exist. The body's stress response is then triggered, and that is where our immunity lives. I always said there was this really awesome, and I shared it in my course, and you would maybe remember it, Jamie, that there are different systems that are impacted by stress. We have the endocrine system, the lymphatic system, and why can't I think about it? The third one. Oh, the brain, the mind, that sort of situation. And these are all the three things that can affect stress. But if we don't know exactly where in that triangle the stress is coming in at, is it coming from the mind? Is it coming from the endocrine system and the hormones? Is it coming from the lymphatic system? All three systems can be stressed. One system can be stressed, but we can also address it by dealing with the mind, dealing with the emotions. And there, because of the interplay of those systems, we'll have the opportunity to create influence over the other systems. So we could essentially correct an endocrine issue by dealing with the nervous system and the lymphatic system, and giving influence over those systems because of the ways of interconnectedness with our body. Feelings of shame and low self-esteem or even self-worth may manifest as acne or other inflammatory skin conditions, dermatitis even. Oftentimes when we look at why someone is experiencing acne, there is likely a block to their self-worth or to their self-esteem. And this block then asks, chicken or egg? What keeps coming first? Is it the block to self-esteem, or is it the acne? And oftentimes we think that the acne is causing low self-esteem, but the low self-esteem is actually creating the inflammation in the body because it is a stress response. Everything is on high alert. It's tight. It's holding. It's not allowing that free flowing of energy. Emotional distress can most definitely weaken our skin's barrier function. Those internal rejuvenation of the waters of our lymphatic system, that is 100% going to have impact over our skin health because it is tied to our emotional influence. And when we think about, okay, what can we do without being inside of the whole skin method, because not everyone will be inside of the whole skin method, and I understand and respect that. There's ways that we can look to more emotional resonance training, emotional release techniques in our practices, and incorporating them, incorporating them into our rituals, into our routines, into our practices, so that we can be more informed. The first step is to begin to do this for yourself. Yeah. If you want to do this for other people, you must begin to do these processes for yourself. And that is really where this grows from, then wanting to help others as you have overcome those emotional challenges in the skin. The third step is energetic alignment. This is where we use our energy tools to figure out what is best. How many times have you gone somewhere and someone's like, you just need to meditate. You just need to take some deep breaths. You should have Reiki done. Well, the truth is that if I don't address first the patterns and the cycles that have created the instance of dis-ease in the body, then I will not be able to use a static energetic healing modality to overcome these foundational elements. I will experience relief. I will experience ease. I will experience so many other things, but I can tell you that I likely will not be able to truly feel the depths of this resonance for a long period of time because the physicality is bigger than the resonance at that point.
Mhm.
So it's really important that we don't look to, a lot of people are now including crystals into their treatments and all these other things. And the client feels good when they're with you. Don't get me wrong. I love using crystals in the treatment rooms and other different energy balancing techniques for my treatments, but they are only going to get you so far when you cannot
Mhm.
process through the emotional levels and layers of skin disruption and dis-ease that happens to keep us from being our embodied selves. Of course, we should all, I believe, be informed about energy practices. And I'm not saying specifically anything, as it's not really about Reiki or being Reiki trained. That's one of the biggest things that people will tell me when they sign up for one of my courses, like Frequency Aesthetics or the Evolved Estes Guide to Energy, is I'm not a Reiki. I'm not into Reiki, but I believe in energy. And I always go, great. That's really what this is about. It's about knowing and understanding the feelings, the processes, or even our own abilities of being empowered. You don't need a certification or something to tell you that you are able to harness your own natural healing hands to share in the healing of others, to be compassionate and to be caring and to shift and move things. We can sense and feel. If we allow ourselves to sense and feel, then we can contribute to that healing. So I believe that the next steps after emotional balancing, of course, is then to look at the energetic side of it. Once the emotions are there, then we can start to introduce things like the crystals and the aromatherapy and or perhaps hypnotherapy, breath work, yoga, very much so different energetic healing modalities once we've shifted the patterns. Then we start to create more space. It becomes more expansive in the body. We're able to cycle energy more. We're able to move things around more because we have created more space. And then we get to this idea of being able, in the fourth step, to create nourishing support. The idea here is that we're then able to look at what needs to be fed. Now that we've cleared things out, that we've expanded the space, what nourishment and nutrition needs to be applied. And oftentimes people are looking at nutrition immediately. It seems to be the first thing that they're looking at. Is like, what do you eat? How are you eating? What are you digesting? What are you taking in? Yes, it all matters, but until 1, 2, 3 are looked at and given life, then we can move into step 4, which is looking at how do we support the cellular health now that the cells have a chance to survive. Now that they have a new environment, a new program that they get to run, how do we nurture that program? How do we support collagen production? How do we support healthy cellular hydration? How do we support vitality of the mitochondria and the body for the long-term gains in skin health? This is where we are able to build habits out of alignment and not out of obligation. Because when we build habits out of obligation, our clients will never be able to follow through because they're doing it from a place of lack, a place of fear. If I don't do this, I'm not going to get that. And instead now they're feeling well. They're saying, I can and I will, and they're moving through this lens of nourishing support. And how we determine nourishing support, again, is to go through an entire list of all the possibilities on these charts and figure out what that looks like for each individual client, each individual strategy. There are no two same strategies. There could be similar strategies or crossovers or themes with specific skin stories, but there's no one strategy for acne because the root cause then is we're going to branch out from there. Is it anger or is it anxiety? And is that anxiety depression or abandonment? Or is it feeling overwhelmed and stressed? Or is it feeling depleted? When we start to break these trees out, there's so many different possibilities that begin to get they could exist. And for us as practitioners, sometimes we get overwhelmed and we default to what we know. And
Yeah.
what we know is limited. It's the narrowest form of our consciousness. And so a lot of the programs that exist out there for nutrition in skin health and basing our dietary choices and intake on supplements and food into the treatment room is based on a very, again, limited framework of what the conclusion is of what is going to be good for this skin and what's going to be harmful or could create more of an expression of that disease in the skin. And so you can take that and really narrow it down when you begin to think intuitively and work in such a way that allows you to be more empowered about what is actually happening and what actually we can see with the idea of nourishment. And it's not just what we're eating, it's how we're eating, it's what we're digesting, what's in our world around us, what's in our environment. That's a huge part of this too. And then finally, we get to step 5. After we get the nourishment down and this body's feeling well, we're taking care of it now from a place of alignment, not obligation. We then can look at the lifestyle factors that are there. And I laugh because this is everyone's step 1 and it's my step 5. It's my final step in my journey. And now we can change the way that we manage stress. We can do good sleep. We can engage in physical activity in a healthy way in an association that is aligned with our overall health. And then we can look at as well here in minimizing our exposure to toxins because we have the space. We have the opportunity from the formless to form creations of energy to form. We have new pathways to begin to think about how else we can create holistic, sustainable habits in a long-term skincare plan. I always say if an esthetician promises to fix your skin in like 2 visits, 3 visits, you're likely just getting a whole slew of inflammation, and I'll see you in 2 years when your skin's just going bonkers and you can't figure out why. And it's really a long game. I want to say that skincare is a long game. And it's important to know that this hierarchy of healing and adopting this hierarchy of healing into your practice is not something that you do statically. It's something that you're continually working through with clients as you uncover and discover new layers, as they're with you for long periods of time. This could be session by session basis, a framework that you're working through, or it could be a long-term game plan that you've adopted to take your client through a journey for 8 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever that is that it's calling to you. It gives you the opportunity to look at it in a micro sense and as well expand upon it broadly into that macro sense of being able to understand, how do I actually heal my client's skin? How do I get them out of their skin story? How do I get them in their ideal skin? And it's not just through products, and it's not just through sleep or stress reduction or anything like that. There's a lot of middle ground in between. And I think a lot of us have a lot of these strategies in our toolkit, but we're not recognizing what the processes must be in order to go through that journey with them and how we appropriately guide them, coach them, and consult them. Because going from practitioner, the doer, the person who is doing all the right things on the skin, to being the coach, the consultant, the leader, that is a huge shift in how we act, how we treat, and how we think, because we have almost like pieces of the pie to begin to put together. We're building out a puzzle. We're trying to understand how much of this is the physical, how much of this is mental, how much of this is emotional, and how much of this is spiritual.
I feel compelled to share and be vulnerable for a moment that in working with you this morning and really hitting this mark home of needing to work on the internal, the energy first versus what we're so used to, the physicality. Outside of the treatment room, just for myself, we had a really personal, vulnerable conversation. And I now understand that if I want to open that space in order for myself to give myself that energy and momentum to, let's just pick working out, some getting more movement in, taking care of my body, taking care of my temple, it does start with making the space. It's working on that energy, the mind, the soul. And when I start to process and work through that, then I can get into the physical more so. better because we've just released and opened that space. So I am beautifully seeing both sides of this now as, personally and outside of the treatment room, but seeing this perspective for the treatment room now and layering in. So this is going to turn into a question like, do we layer it in because our consumers are so used to the physical aspect, right? The washing, the exfoliating, and it's about having a new conversation and educating them. But where do you layer in, or where do you start? Do you start with full conversations before you get into the spa treatment room? Of course, I'm not asking you to give away the whole skin method completely, but is there something you can speak on to that? Like, is it a completely different shift for the practitioner that's taking this approach and what we are now doing in the treatment room?
I think it's giving more time overall to the empowerment around consultation. Think about
Yeah,
how much time we could spend with a client talking about all of the
yeah,
products that they could use on their skin. And we're really good at that, probably. We're probably really good at selling the products, the physical things that exist in our business.
yeah.
But the ask is, can we take a little bit of that time away around products? And can we put it into helping our clients to understand that